wasn't like they meant to hurt you. I mean, a guy like Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, guys from the Calgary area, they had a stiffer style. You knew they were there. You know, it wasn't like they wanted to hurt you, but that was their style. They were snug, they were stiff, they were a little on the stiff side. But then again, you got in the ring with a guy like Wayne Ferris, Honky Tonk Man, and sometimes you didn't know whether he hit you or not. I mean, Wayne is a good worker. He works his gimmick tremendously, but I'd rather have a guy somewhere in between the two. I'd rather not get chopped as hard as Mike Sharp used to chop me.
Was Bad News pretty stiff?
Mike Sharp, yeah.
No, Bad News Brown?
Excuse me?
Bad News Brown?
Bad News Brown was fine with me.
Okay.
He was fine. I mean, some of the things, you know, forearms across the back, forearms to the chest. I mean, I never, you ought to be able to take that as a professional wrestler. I don't know why Lanny felt that Bam Bam took advantage of him. I worked with Bam Bam. Bam Bam was nothing but more than generous in the ring, unless, of course, it was me. We were both Jersey boys, or we were friendly, and maybe he had a dislike for Lanny for something else. But when I heard that, I just couldn't believe that anyone had a bad thing to say about Scott Bigelow.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, not so much that he's dead, but I mean, I know him to be. He was a professional. He was a class act. I mean, he'd give you 90% of the match, even though he knew he was going over. He'd take his 10% and he'd get his hand raised. He was nothing but more than generous in the ring.
They must have liked him too to push him up the ladder so fast.
Well, he was a tremendous athlete. I mean, anywhere he went, he made the company money. And in the interim, if he makes the company money, he's making himself money. So I mean, he was hot wherever he was, especially in Japan. Scott Bigelow made very good money when he went over to Japan. And when he was in, I think Scott was in WCW for a little while.
Yeah, he was.
He was, right? Okay.
Yep.
So I mean, anywhere he went, he was an asset to the company. If Lanny felt that he was a little stiff on him, and I like Lanny, it's not that I don't like, but I mean, Lanny, to work with Lanny, it was kind of hard. Lanny, not that he was stiff or anything, but we used to joke around and say Lanny was the heaviest man in the business, because when you go to body slam, lift Lanny up for a body slam, he was like dead weight. I mean, he wasn't helpful at all. He didn't know to post his arm on your hip or on your hip or up your upper thigh. I mean, he just was not anything you tried to do with Lanny, even a hip toss. He wasn't the most athletic of individuals.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he says it. I didn't listen to the whole interview, but he did ride the coattails of Randy Macho Man Savage. And there's nothing wrong with that, like he said. I mean, I think he made reference to somebody else.
Yeah, he talked about also, he's comparing himself to, David Sammartino's in the shadows of Bruno, just like he is.
Lanny took advantage of it, and David did not.
Yeah.
I mean, David wanted to be bigger than Bruno Sammartino. Well, shit, there aren't that many people that are bigger than Bruno Sammartino right now.
No.
Now everybody's just thrown into this big mosh pit, and who the hell, I mean,
Now it's just a bunch of mid-carders, It's just a bunch of mid-carders now. There's no real, I don't know, the way they build these things, it's not very...
I mean, whatever they're doing, we can't say that they're doing something wrong because they're making money.
Yeah.
They're still putting asses in the seats, as we would say. I don't know what the ratings are on TV. I understand they have a new show called Superstars now.
And they brought it back.
Excuse me?
They brought it back after gone all those years.
Yeah, that's right. That's why it sounds so familiar, because it used to be. But so, I mean, whatever they're doing, they're doing right. I understand, actually, from you and even other people, that WrestleMania was just terrible, and that's scary because WrestleMania was your what's the word I'm looking for? That was their premier paper.
Their Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was
World Series.
Equivalent. It was the wrestling Super Bowl. But and I was really close to buying it. And I'm kind of glad I didn't. I mean. I understand Undertaker and Shawn Michaels saw the show, but anyway, getting back, which I can answer. But getting back to Lanny Poffo, I have no idea why he felt that way about Scott Bigelow, and it kind of bothered me because I like Scott. I knew Scott for many years. I went to his wake, and I like Scott. I don't know Scott to be that type of an individual, so why Lanny is a little bit miffed or whatever, or. I don't know. I can't answer that question. You'd have to ask him. Did he? Later on in the interview, does he get into any details as to why he felt that Scott Bigelow a terrible worker. And
he just felt he wasn't that good in the ring, and he also said that he was angry that he never gave him like a thank you for putting him over and things like that. And
well, I mean, listen, I put over everybody from A to Z. Lanny talks about putting people over. Well, I don't think there's anybody that's put more people over than me. But sometimes you get a thank you, sometimes you don't. You just have to understand that this is the job that the company has laid out for you, and you either want it or, like I said in many interviews before, there's the door. And how many people I've wrestled in Madison Square Garden countless times, Nassau Coliseum. I got to wrestle right here in the Meadowlands, right in my backyard. I mean, how many people wouldn't? I mean, I got tossed around by Ken Patera for 11 or 12 minutes, and I got to do maybe a one-arm drag to him, and still there were people that were going, God, I wish that could have been me. I wish I could have been there. I wish that, you know, how many people get that opportunity? So, Lanny,
you were in the ring with Andre too. Any comments on that when you and Tito faced Andre that handicap match?
Yeah, well, it was the first time I had ever been in a ring with somebody of that. And I was not a weightlifter or a body, but nothing as far as there was no steroid. Andre was just a big man. So when you're in the ring with somebody like that, and there really isn't a kind of lockup. There's nothing you do. But when he holds you or grabs onto your body part, you get the feeling that if he squeezed really hard, he could snap a bone. You know, I mean, if he grabs you by the neck, I mean, it's kind of scary. So I could understand when Hulk talks about how he didn't know how the match was going to go. You know, that WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome.
Yeah.
I could understand that, because if Andre didn't want to do it, he wasn't going to do it. And if Andre wanted to hurt you, he'd hurt you. And I think because I'm friendly with Ultimate Warrior, though we haven't spoken in about 4 years, but I was probably one of the closest guys to him, that Andre was told to go out there and they had a match together and to kind of like teach him a lesson or let him know who the boss really was, because maybe Jim, and I say Jim because it's
Jim Helwing, yeah.
Right. Maybe Jim felt that he was getting a little too big for his britches, or whatever. The company felt that Jim was getting too big for his britches. But and I think I watched the match, and I'm trying to remember. Not much other than the finish went Ultimate Warrior's way. So I mean, Andre, getting in the ring with Andre, it's scary. It's scary, but he liked Tito a lot. He liked Tito a real lot. They used to play cards together all the time, and he had nothing against me. I was a young, up-and-coming, whatever. So he took good care of us. It's not like we were slamming him or arm dragging him or any of that. But, I mean, he didn't break any bones or give us any big chops or like that. So, no, Andre was a good man. I don't know how he could wake up in the morning and I don't know how he could consume as much alcohol as he did, and all different types of alcohol.
His books tell all the stories. They're very interesting.
Does he have a book out? Did someone put a book out for him?
Yeah, they're very, very good stories.
Yeah, I know there was a story that was told. I don't know if it's in his book. If there was they were staying over. The boys would stay over at a hotel in Newark when they were in this general area, and Andre had been at the bar. And when the bar closed, he made it as far as he could make it out to the lobby, and he kind of like dropped on the floor, and they couldn't move him. Nobody could move Andre, so they just took a blanket from one of the rooms.
Okay, that was in the book.
Is that in the book? Okay,
yeah.
Good, yeah.
And so he woke up like the next afternoon or something like that.
No, I mean, people were checking out the following morning, and Andre was still sleeping. You couldn't move him, so. But yeah, he could consume. He had to undergo some surgery. He had to undergo a couple surgeries towards the end, and from what I understand from reliable sources was that the anesthesiologists and the surgeons needed to know how much alcohol Andre consumed on a daily basis, because they had to adjust the anesthesia to that. If they give him the anesthesia for a normal individual for that height and weight, which is what they normally do,
yep,
probably wouldn't have put him out, because of all the alcohol he consumed on a 24-hour basis. So he was an amazing man. I mean, the business now is, I don't know. I see John Cena's got the belt again, I think. I'm not sure. I don't really follow it too much. But
yeah.
When I first saw John, he didn't look like a very athletic type of kid. I understand he's got a football background. But he can talk. He can talk, and people have told me that he's got a very strong passion for the business. He lives it, breathes it. I mean, it's 24/7 for him. I mean, if he has an injury, he can't wait to get back. I don't know him like that. I really don't know him. We've maybe exchanged a few words, only because there's such a gap, between our careers.
Exactly.
But anyway, that's it.
All right, thanks for calling. Before you go, though, I'm going to do Literature for you, though. I'm going to do my Howard Finkel introduce you, but what's your build weight, though?